Awesome.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of What's Next, a series as a collaboration between Textured Air and Canned Goods Magazine. I'm so excited to have this bunch of folks here today to talk with me about all things queer. We're talking about the LGBTQIA plus community, what it's like to be part of it, and what it's like to go through college and the different forms of self-discovery, evolution, and coming out or not that occur throughout your college career. So without further ado, let's just jump right in and start with some introductions. My name is Matthew Janis, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Canned Goods Magazine. I live in Los Angeles, California, with my partner, Sean, and our dog, and 2 rabbits, and many plants. I went to Temple University in Philadelphia, and I graduated in 2019. And a fun fact about myself is that I, over the course of 1 year, lived in 4 different apartments. In Philadelphia to Chicago, LA. 4 different apartments over the course of 1 year. Yeah, just amazing track record of staying in one place. You know? Sean, since you're on the same screen as me, do you want to go next?
Hey, you already said my name. You already said where I live now. So where I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I went to Pace University. I kind of graduated in 2017, i.e. I finished my musical theater program, but I still have a couple of little academics that I need to get done. So we're chilling. We're thriving, kind of.
Who needs a degree?
Yeah, right. Who needs a degree? Fun fact about myself. I really did think about this before. I'm just like, oh, fun fact.
That's fun.
Okay, wait. I'm opening a cafe in West Hollywood.
Not just a cafe, but the only Black-owned coffee shop in Hollywood.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
I just launched a GoFundMe on Friday. So we're raising funds now.
Yes.
That's fun.
That is my fun fact.
Very fun.
What a fun fact.
Nice.
Okay.
Lori, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Okay. Hi, y'all. I'm Lori. I'm originally from Guam, and I went to UC Davis, University of California, Davis. I graduated last year in March. And a fun fact about me is, I played the tenor saxophone for 8 years.
Okay.
All right.
Joanna, would you like to go?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Joanna. I live in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. I went to Temple. I still go to Temple. I have 1 semester left. And a fun fact about me, I am double jointed.
Ooh.
Fun.
Word.
Jordan?
I'll go. Hi, my name is Jordan Dobson. I'm from Pensacola, New Jersey, South Jersey. But now I live in New York. For quarantine, I'm in Philly though. I graduated kind of much like Sean from Temple University. Go out. I finished my program, but some credits are being sorted out, I'm pretty sure. More on that later. A fun fact, I just got this new cactus and I'm looking for a name. So if anyone gets to know it over this time, we're looking for names.
Gets to know it. Awesome.
Back to that at the end. Melissa, why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm Melissa. I also grew up in Lansdale. I went to the same high school as Joanna, but now I'm living in South Philly. I went to school for theater at Temple, and I graduated in 2019. And a fun fact, I guess it's like about me, but like me adjacent. My cat is currently on Prozac and we are trying to get her off of it. She has separation anxiety. And I didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal as it is, but I love her and I'm handling it and it's fine. So,
Oh my gosh. Your cat's a warrior.
What's your kid's name?
Her name is Lavender.
Aww.
It's a star.
Really sweet.
About Prozac, like, are you trying to get her off of Prozac because she's not reacting well to it?
No, she's just like, she's on like, I'm on medication. So I know how much medication like a human should be on. And she's on like an insane amount of medication for like a cat. So it's like, I feel like she's being sedated and I feel like her personality isn't able to like fully come through. So I feel like we have a bond now, like she's going to be okay, but who's to say? I really don't know. I'm not a cat expert.
We're sending love. We're sending love.
Absolute love and blessings.
Yeah. Oh my God. Love to that cat. I'm Camille. I'll go next. I think I'm left. I'm Camille, and I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That is where I currently live now. I will right outside Philly is where I'm from, but I live in Philly now, and I went to Temple University, where I also studied theater, graduated in 2017. And a fun fact about me is, this is so very college, I came in very close contact with a bear once at I was doing an acting workshop in upstate New York, and there wasn't like a street. There wasn't like a road. We were kind of walking like in the street. There weren't any sidewalks, and bear walked from one side of the woods to the other.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, very much like a pedestrian crossing a crosswalk, and I was not prepared. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that Margolis method?
Yes, it was. Shout out to that. But yes, that's where I was studying that. And we saw the bear. Great, guys. Thanks for getting into the college spirit with those fun facts.
So good. All right. So, being queer in college, I think that whether you had started uncovering your queer identity before college, or whether it was something that you woke up to in the middle of your college experience, you go through a lot of self-discovery. So I guess I just want to start talking about and opening up the floor to, what did you discover about yourself over your years in college, however long you were in college? What did you discover about yourself in terms of sexuality, in terms of sex, and in terms of gender?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I did not know anything about my sexuality before I came into college, which, like, looking back it feels so absurd. Like, it just feels like I was ignoring just piles and piles of shit that now I'm sifting through. But yeah, I came into college with a boyfriend. I probably went to Temple because of the boyfriend that I was dating. He was a year older than me. I'm thankful I went there. I don't really care about that at the end of the day. But it was very much a 180, and I kind of like discovered my entire personality on top of like my sexuality, because there was a lot in my personality I just wasn't exploring because I wasn't accepting like my sexuality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that I came from a place, in retrospect, of really not knowing anything about my sexuality. But at the time, I thought I knew everything. I thought I had it down pat. Like, I was just like, I like boys. I'm a boy, and I like boys, and I'm gay, and that's like kind of all there is to sexuality. So that's good enough. And here I am. I felt like I just had it all figured out.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, I like came out of the womb knowing I was queer. Like my mom knew I was queer, but I think when I was in middle school or high school, I was like, okay, I'm bisexual. That's all there is to it. But then I went to college and I started realizing that there was words for the things that I was feeling, like about my gender and how I didn't want to really, I'm non-binary. But once I had that like vocabulary for all the other shit, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? That feels nice too.
Yeah, vocabulary is a huge thing. If you don't have the words, or I guess I should say, once you learn more words, you can say, "Oh, wait, am I that?"
Yeah.
It's really funny to me because remember at the time I started college, I literally was like, I'm probably going to come out as bi in college. And I was like, and that's it. And I 100% was like, I'm a guy. And at no point, it wasn't until like my sophomore year of college where I was like, oh shit, I might not be a guy, I think. Still bi though. And then I wasn't even right about that.
And in the community that you were in, what did it feel like to have that realization?
It's just like, it feels a lot better. Like my life has been like kind of ups and downs, but even in like my down periods, I've still been able to be like, okay, but the fact that I'm a woman now makes everything 1,000 times better. It is so nice. I'm so much happier. I'm me. Like I didn't used to be me, and now I'm me, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. I think that within the queer community, there's so much sympathizing with one another about all the different types of dysphoria that we experience in trying to uncover who we are and all of the confusion that comes along with that. But it's nice, like Joanna, to hear you talk about like that joy that there is too. There is euphoria in identity as well, right? Like we don't tap into that as much because there's just like a lot of pain to uncover. But when we can, it can be so liberating.
Yeah, I grew up with mostly like really great, like beautiful examples of people kind of recognizing their queerness at a younger age and like people being really receptive and accepting and their families being really accepting and welcoming. And then once I got to college, I was like, oh, I don't just like have majority queer friends. Like I am queer friends. Like I don't think this is a like coincidence that this is the community that I have immersed myself in and surrounded myself in. This is like the community that I am in. And for me, like it wasn't a super scary experience because I had so many people close to me in my life that had kind of paved the way for me, essentially. Like I watched them kind of be braver and maybe like more ready to talk about it and embrace it way before I kind of knew that that's what I was feeling as well. So
for me, college was a big moment because I feel like I knew I was queer my whole life, but since I still liked women, it was so easy to suppress that entire side of me because I could fit into the majority and live my life that way. And I didn't have a lot of queer people around. So then when I got to college in a theater program, I was like, whoa, there are so many queer people. This is like pretty awesome. And I started to figure out what that meant for me and just to learn a lot about myself that what was so easy to just like push to the side for a while.
Awesome. So because not everybody does, like, did you all have experiences with coming out, or like, especially if you go to, even if you were already out before you started school, you're meeting a whole host of new folks. So it's kind of feels like, I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but it kind of feels like as soon as you meet someone new, sometimes you have to like, all right, is this someone I'm going to have to like sit down and have a conversation with about like who I am and who I'm attracted to? Like, did you guys have a bunch of different experiences coming out? Like, what was that like for you?
I remember in high school, I came out very, very slowly and like almost strategically. Like I came out to like one person at a time as I would feel comfortable with them. And that I remember that was like one person for like a couple of weeks, and then I would tell like another person, and it kind of just like evolved. But when I was coming out in high school, I was coming out as bisexual because I wasn't quite sure that I was like fully gay, because I was like, I still like girls. I still like, because I wasn't like interested in them, but they were, because I was in like high school. I was talking about girls.
Right.
But I was like, I don't feel like I want to like put myself in a box. I'm so young. Like, I feel like I want to like everyone, blah, blah, blah. So then fast forward to college, when I got there, I remember someone asking me if I was gay, because I also am like a flamboyant person. So someone was like, "Are you gay?" And I was just like, "Yeah." Just because I knew it was easier for me to say I am gay than for me to say I am bisexual, even though I act like this, even though my identity is this. I didn't feel like explaining that. So in that moment, I felt like it would be easier for me to just claim the identity of being a gay person in that moment. And I also was just like, I didn't understand the connections between my identity, my gender, and my sexuality at the time. And I also am somebody that is non-binary, and like having that language like really freaked me up as far as my sexuality too. But yeah, at the time I had no idea. I was just like, I'm tired of explaining to people that I am flamboyant and bisexual, so I'm gay. Fuck it.
I did the same thing for a while, Sean, and I still do. I'm pansexual, but very often people are like, "Oh yeah, you're gay," and I'm like, "Yeah." Well, and I like whisper, like, "Well, pansexual," like, you know. And it's always that, just because it's easier. But I find now I try and catch myself because it's just so ingrained, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes I wonder if just taking Jordan, I so relate to that. I'm just like, this is easier, and it's easier for me, and shouldn't I choose to just like make it easy on myself? But then I wonder if sometimes I'm not fully honoring myself. And I think that's what I was doing for a long time with just naming myself as gay, is because that was simple. And frankly, like in the time that I was coming out in high school and college, it was very palatable to people. Like people were like, "Oh, white cis gay guy, that's something I've seen on TV many times." And I had that privilege of being like, this is something that really nicely fits into your box, so I can be this and you can like it, and you can just get along with it, which was me like wielding privilege, number one, and then also not really like honoring the fullness of who I am.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's a lot of like biphobia and like including like pansexuality like within the queer community. I mean like white lesbians they're rough. And there's a lot of lesbians that are like, I won't date I won't date a woman that's bi, or I won't date someone that's pansexual. And it's like the fact that it's within our own community, it's like, it's even, if it's here, it's even more present within the straight community. So I think sometimes like, it's just like, it's like easier just to go with whatever somebody says, you know, and you don't even like think about it, because you know, it exists in every space, and it sucks because we're the people that are supposed to be accepting everybody. And there are some of us that don't.
Yeah.
A lot of hypocrisy.
Yeah. I think it's really
And
important
a lot of
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that biphobia, when it comes from within the community, but especially from a mentor within the community or a professor in college,
Yep.
it can it's not only hurtful, but it makes you rethink, because you're constantly on this journey of figuring myself out. Am I bisexual? Am I pan? Am I just gay? And then you have a professor tell you, "Oh, you'll be gay in no time. You just got to figure it out." And then I'm like, well, my trajectory on figuring myself out just went boom, you know, because it's someone that you trust.
And they're older
and
too. You want to listen to them, you know? You definitely want to listen to an older queer. You're like, they definitely have all the answers, and they don't have the fucking answers. So, you know?
Yeah, I think it's really important to stress that in this like coming out journey, whatever that looks like for you. You really don't owe anybody anything. You don't even owe anyone that conversation. Like for me, it's not really in my nature to sit people down and have discussions about who I'm attracted to or like what I do. I'm in a very like, most of you guys know, but I'm in a committed relationship that like, I don't know, I don't like talk. If you're aware that you'll find me having like a sit down serious conversation about my relationship, you know? So like, for me, I think what I was doing my whole life was kind of creating a space and surrounding myself with people already to where I wouldn't have to put myself in a situation that felt uncomfortable for me. Like, yes, I was not hanging out with people who were like homophobic because they're terrible people, but also because like I wanted to create space for myself to explore, I think, parts of me that I kind of always knew was there, but I just wanted to make it comfy. And I think you can stress, like, you can make it comfy for yourself. It doesn't have to be this agonizing thing. And if that's what it feels like, then maybe it's not right to be doing right now or like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think about in those instances where you have come out and chosen to disclose your identity, I'm wondering if anyone in this group has found themselves becoming an educator for particularly for straight people or for cisgender people, or even like within within the community too.
I'm just like looking at the eye rolls.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. All the time.
I see. Yeah. The simple reaction that occurs to this question tells me that there's something to unpack here.
Yeah, I feel like there's this idea that because you are somebody who followed those like little whispers in your ear, I'm talking to like the general you or the people that like, you know, really are vocal about their identities. I feel like those are the same people who have a hard time figuring out their identities kind of like latch to, because they're like, well, help, what do I do? You have so much language for who you are. You are so brave. You're so strong. Teach me. And it's kind of just like, okay, well, damn, it takes a lot of work to kind of like self-actualize. And then they're also at the other side of that is like the preservation of self. Like you can't just like figure yourself out and then just start giving yourself out by like educating everybody. You got to practice some discernment for those people that you really share yourself with in that way and choose to educate, because that's also just like labor.
It is labor.
I'm really curious.
I learned that you just gotta like, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
You really just gotta pick and choose your battles, because there are some people that you just don't want to be, you know, stressing yourself out for no reason. It's like the first like month or so I was in college, I had all my roommates were straight, and I didn't tell anyone I was queer in that group, because I knew like once I did, they weren't like terribly like homophobic, you know, just a little splash. They're like, oh, I'm cool with gay people, but you know, I'm just gonna say whatever the fuck I want. But it's just like, you really gotta pick and choose your battles, because there are some people who do not deserve your time and do not deserve your energy to explain things that are so widely available to them elsewhere. Yeah.
I'm curious. So for folks, I think you were speaking to it a little bit already, Lori, but for folks who had kind of come to terms with their sexuality, or the fact that they at least like knew that they weren't straight, or knew that they weren't like cisgendered, or just like coming into things maybe before college, how did then the college setting affect the things that you felt like you already knew about yourself? Do you know what I mean? Was there certain aspects of college living or college life that like altered that experience for you or made it feel just different?
I came to college like wanting to explore like everything about myself. Like I came to college wanting to explore my sexuality, my gender expression, my gender identity. Like I wanted to do all that stuff. And I feel like I was met with like resistance and judgment. Like I was told that because I was told that me presenting myself in any type of like feminine way was actually distracting to like, because in a musical theater space, because I would be like, I like come to class with my face beat and they'd be like, oh, well, it's distracting because you're playing male roles. And I'd just be like, oh, bet, like, cool. I guess if I'm trying to be successful in musical theater, the way to be successful in musical theater is to present and be what I want to, how I want to work, right? Like there was no real separation between like, oh, your gender identity and your gender expression can be whatever it's going to be, and you can play all of these roles. It was kind of like, you are a big Black man, so you have to play Cole House, you have to play the Lion and the Wiz, and all those are big, strong men. So you have to be that. And it was just like, it kind of like stifled all the things that like it wasn't that it made me question them. It just like stopped the exploration, which kind of like stopped the learning process. It wasn't so, yeah, it wasn't that I could, I don't know. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I was asking because I had a lot of like friends, like I knew a lot of my like gay male friends had issues with like their straight roommates. And like, it would be a thing of like, I had a friend who we would see his roommate everywhere and they would never speak. And he was like, yeah, we don't talk, but I can just tell that we're not. And to that, like I say, like, I think it was great that instead of trying to devote time to and energy into making someone like see you, to just finding the people that already were seeing you and like building your own community, which I think is something that everyone struggles with in college, but especially if you're in a community that's like thought to be marginalized, like you really kind of do, it's really helpful and healing to find like your own people and people who accept you, who you don't have to like work to make see you.
Yeah, I think that that's a really powerful choice to like, rather than, like Lori said, like waste the time and energy on certain people. It can benefit you so much more to seek out your own community. I kind of want to dig into that a little bit to hear from the group about finding your community. If you felt like that was easy for you to do, or what it was like, or if you do feel like you are connected to a community even now.
It was weird because like I had like definitely like a moment where I was like, I have found my second family. Like this is the person I can be my authentic self with, and like I can be me. But at the same time, a lot of them at the time were straight, and those that were not straight were cis. And so even then it was like, okay, I found my community, but I kind of haven't, because none of you can really relate to like you can, like they can sympathize with what I'm going through. Like I can talk about my problems and they can be like, oh, that sucks. But like none of them have ever experienced dysphoria, and they never will because they're cis. Like, and then it wasn't until like, especially because like I also went to the theater concentration at Temple, and I was like one of two openly transgender students in the whole theater concentration. And even then it was like, we weren't close. Like the only thing we had in common was that we were trans, and we weren't even both trans women. He was a man. So like, it wasn't until I like I didn't graduate, but it wasn't until I until I graduated that I found like other trans women. And I didn't even do that on purpose. Truthfully, most of the trans women that I know and are friends with, I met on like dating apps, tried to date them, went horribly. Now we're friends.
I think online
so like
for queer people, and like for a long time has been for a lot of people one of the only places to find community online.
I felt like I found a lot of community right away, just as the way I fit into the community is being pansexual. So it was just like a sexuality thing. It was like a lot of gay people in theater, you know, that's what you think of. It was more about like fitting into the community that was like a struggle. I was lucky enough and privileged enough to have a bunch of people who were in the community, but I didn't know like, all right, I'm in the community now, so I'm going to adopt these characteristics. And I just felt like I should. And then I was like, oh, wait, let me like really learn about myself and figure out like where I fall in this community. And like, it's not just what you see. Yeah, it was an interesting time. That all goes to say that I think I just took on a lot of the traits of the community in embracing my queerness. And then I had to step back and be like, who am I really? Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan. So yeah, this idea of like, so now you are in this community of queer folks, this new, like you have this identity that has a lot of history that you probably weren't taught, that you probably don't know. So can anyone speak to the experience of like trying to now navigate through this new community that you're a part of, or like this new way that you're identifying?
Just lots of fear for me. It was just, I was so afraid all the time that I didn't fit in, that I didn't know enough about sex, that I was inexperienced. And then, you know, you find the people that, like Joanna said, like you do feel like our second family. And even if they don't have the same experience, they can help. And just like being open and being like, I'm afraid and don't know how to go about this.
I feel like I was so afraid too that I was doing everything wrong. And I think I still like have some of that fear sometimes. Like, you know, as early as the beginning of college, just worrying like I'm gonna do sex wrong, or I'm gonna do like the way that I dress or behave or present myself wrong. Like I see other people doing it this way, and I'm not. I know I'm like supposed to be part of this, but I don't want to mess up.
I like went through like these phases where I was like, I don't want to look gay. I don't want anybody to clock me as being gay. And then I'd be like, I want to look gay. And like that happened constantly for me. And like, before I came out, like I used to have like really long blonde hair. I chopped off all my hair for a show that I was in where I was playing a butch lesbian, and I was not out. And so I was like, when I cut my hair off, then I was like, oh my God, I look too masculine. I was wearing like full face of makeup every single day because I just was so stressed out about looking really masculine. And then I started like enjoying that. And then I was like, am I supposed to enjoy that? And it was kind of just like back and forth until I like, now I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm going to like fucking wear pattern button-ups like every lesbian. You know, it's like it took a while to get there, but you know, it's just you just gotta like trust your instinct, because it's weird. I mean, gender's weird, and our society shows gender very weird. So when you're figuring out your sexuality, that has a lot to do with gender and the way that you present yourself. So it's just gonna be back and forth, and you gotta just listen to yourself.
Yeah, how does everyone feel about the expectations that are put on your gender for how you're supposed to be or look?
I feel like, again, it goes back to like what people expect of you based on what you look like. And then from there, you kind of have the decision like, okay, well, am I just going to give people what they expect because it's an easier way to go through life? Or am I going to, you know, honor the nuance that is my identity? Am I going to like lean into the parts of myself that I don't really know too well and just like be uncomfortable and like kind of figure it out? I feel like along with figuring out my gender identity and figuring out my sexuality was like, I realized that if I gave people what they want, I had more access to sex, if that made any sense. Like within the gay community, specifically the cis white gay community, that is really what it felt like was all there was to it. Because like my community that I found as far as gay culture was like going out, like nightlife, like clubbing. And for me, looking around and like seeing all my friends find people to go home with, and me just like with my full face, like in my outfit, like full get up, having to like go home alone and be sad about it and carrying all that myself, and then being like, oh, wait, the way into here is by giving people what they want. So if I dress like this, if I present this way, maybe I'll have more sex, literally. And like, I think the sad truth is that it was true. It literally worked. Like, performing my gender, this like filling in that like masculine top energy. That's the other thing about gay sex is like the expectation of like, if you are masculine, you are a top, and if you are feminine, you are a bottom, and that is it. Period. Like, that's it. And like, I was like, oh, I have to fit into this, you know. So I felt like I was just like playing a role this whole time, and like muting the other parts of myself. And that's something that I feel like came up a couple times in the hour that we've been talking, is like the idea that there's some parts of yourself that you can't talk about or can't explore. I remember that. And I'm actively like decolonizing that for myself.
I think about my gender presentation and the expectations of my gender presentation every second of every goddamn day. I've been living as a woman for like 3-4 years, and I'm still like, I need everything. It's funny because every time I do something, I'm like, wrong move. You should have done something else. Even for this, like, this is just like a casual, like Zoom, like a recording about being queer. I spent probably half an hour like, okay, I need to find an outfit that is feminine, but not too feminine because it can't look like I'm trying too hard. But it needs to be casual, but also I don't want to put in that much effort, so it's got to be comfy. There is so much effort that I put in when like my like usual outfit, like ask anyone who knows me, I will wear fucking superhero t-shirts that I bought in high school and leggings, and that's it. And like, but I, like exactly like what you were saying, Sean, like I won't have sex if I do that. Like, I need to present, I need to get my prettiest outfit, and I need to raise my voice an octave, and I need to have a full face of makeup, or else like everyone's going to be like, oh, you're like trans, but you're not the flavorful kind of trans. You're not the kind of trans that I want to be like we can hang out and you can tell jokes to me, but beyond that, like, I'm not trying to get involved. And it sucks.
Joanna, like, thank you for sharing that. Your womanhood is so valid and so appreciated here. And I think it speaks to like Sean, you mentioned decolonizing and colonization, and it speaks to the colonization of desire and what our minds are trained to believe is desirable and what we are trained to desire. And that's the really screwed up thing, is that the way that it has infiltrated your perception of your own womanhood, having to analyze every single move that you make.
Mm-hmm. And like, even among like other trans women, like I have received like significant guff from other trans women where they'll be like, oh, you're not wearing that, are you? Mm-hmm. Like, if we're going out, like you're gonna change though, right? Like, can I do your makeup? And I'll be like, I guess, like, if you want to. And it kind of makes me sad because like, I have a lot of trans friends who like feel the need to like put on a full face of makeup and heels and a dress to go buy snacks at a 7-Eleven. Like, just a quick in and out. But if they don't like decide, like, they won't be perceived in the way that not just that they want to be perceived, but the way that society has conditioned them to be like, this is the only valid way for you to be perceived, which is bullshit. And like, I really want, if nothing else I say gets across in this video, is that fucking no trans person, be they trans masculine, trans feminine, non-binary, gender fluid, anything, no one owes anyone anything. You can be as trans, as fucking feminine as you want. You can be a trans man and wear makeup and skirts and heels if that's what you want. You can be a trans woman and wear fucking a sick Red Lantern t-shirt and ratty leggings and combat boots like I do. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't invalidate your identity. It is you are you, regardless of whatever some fucking neckbeard decides to call you.
Come on, neckbeard.
We always have goddamn neckbeards, that's for sure.
Not bad.
That's awesome. I am friends with a lot of white people. So I didn't have like queer, Black, feminine, like what does that look like? Like I didn't have a lot of it around me. I didn't know what that looked like. I knew that what I was, despite having many queer friends, was different from what they were. And so for me, a lot of it was just like, I found a lot of my like first inklings of community with like reading books, like reading Black, queer, femme writers, like reading just that feeling of like, okay, I'm not like, obviously I'm not alone here. Like there are women out here who are not only just like feeling the way I am, but thinking the way that I am, living in the way that I'm hoping to like be able to live my life. And I think I really can't say it enough. Like queer history is real. Queer history is out there. It's not history that is always readily available to us. It's not history that is always taught to us. But I think there's something so affirming about learning that history and just like honoring all those people who came before you, because that was the first way that I was able to feel that kind of connection that I was looking for.
I'm just going off of that, like I can echo. I definitely, when it comes to queer Black friends or even just queer friends of color, far and few between. It took, I think, moving to New York and actually doing the show that I'm doing is like where I've actually found that community. Otherwise, it's, yeah, you just, I mean, this goes into a whole other discussion about race and sexuality together.
Well, I think throwing that in because I think that speaks to what I think is the obligation that white queer people have right now, which is to truly learn queer history, which really is learning the queer history of people of color, and learning that and spreading it like a wildfire. I think that's like kind of the most important thing for white queer people to be doing right now. Yeah.
I mean, and like always, like, I think there's this, so now you're in this new community, there's levels to this shit. Like just with everything, like there's still privilege here. Like just because you are queer does not absolve you of any privileges that you do have. Just because I'm like a Black queer woman, I'm still a Black queer cisgendered woman. I'm in what is like to the eye a heterosexual relationship. Mm-hmm. I try really hard to make sure I'm checking those privileges because I don't have to think about certain things that other couples have to think about. You know what I mean? I don't have issues that people who aren't cisgendered have. Like it's so important to me to always be like, just make sure I'm actively checking that, because as a Black person, as a woman, like I know how hurtful that is. And the people in my life who are like supposed to be my friends, like you really haven't been thinking about, all those things this whole time. It's great that we are now. But
specifically, like going off of that, I was in a class once, and there was it was like right after I'd come out, and this other, I don't know if she was queer, but she was also white. And she was like, I just want to say, you are so brave. And you were like, you're living, I think she was like, you're living your life on the hardest difficulty. And I literally was like, all right, let's not pretend that it's that hard. I looked at her, I was like, let's not act like that. Because if I was Black, holy shit, my life. I literally looked at her. I was like, if I was Black, I would be dead by now. If I was a Black trans woman, I would not be
statistically
here. Because like as hard as it is for white trans women, and it is like I'm not going to act like it doesn't suck, but like there is not a more viciously targeted group on earth than Black trans women. Black trans women are like, I don't even have words for it. I can't even comprehend how unfair and awful and hard the world is on Black trans women and trans women of color in general, but specifically Black trans women. And like, I don't know. I feel like there's this kind of white on white sentiment where like white straight people will pat white queer people on the back and be like, "You're so brave. I'm so proud of you. You're so brave for being your authentic self." And it's like, okay, but I'm still white and it's still pretty easy for me because of that.
And how can you have the same energy when it's towards somebody Black? Like,
exactly.
That's the question is like, why is it so difficult for you to understand when it is literally just a different skin color? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even the like I told you guys, I'm at the Shore House right now, and it's like shared by a lot of different people, and all these people are around kind of the same age as like me and my sister and stuff. They're around like 23 to 27, and like me and my partner are very like open with who we are. It's very obvious we're in a relationship, and they all were like, "Yeah, super cool, super fun, yes, yes, yes," and it's like, at the end of the day, like they are in large groups of white people. And I know that if we were Black, it would be very different. Or if one of us were Black, it would be very different. And like sitting there, it's like great because it's like, okay, these people that don't know us, they're being cool with queer people, but it's like that is like so base value. Like it's like it's so fine. It's very easy to just be like, okay, yeah, cool. No, we love that. Great. But like there are just so many other things that are involved in it. And like you, as a white queer person, you kind of always need to remind yourself of that, because just because they're being nice to you doesn't mean that they're going to be nice to a lot of other people that still deserve that care and respect, you know?
Yes. You have to recognize that like the acceptance that you're receiving as a white queer person, you have to question whether or not it is actually unconditional. Because if circumstances were different, if it was, if you were not white, or maybe if you were not cisgender, would this person still be as accepting? So as a white queer person, you need to look deeply at yourself, but also at the people you're surrounding yourself with, and just how accepting they are of the full breadth of your community, not just you.
Yeah, I think.
Can I just say something?
Please do. No, please do.
I just want to say something directly to any straight people that are watching this. Please don't jerk yourself off for being nice to trans people. You're not like an amazing person for that. That doesn't make you fucking Superman. That's bare minimum, my dude. Just treat people like people and then keep walking. And similarly, at young trans people, young queer people, anyone who's like recently come out, people like I know it's really easy to be like, oh, they see me as a person. That's amazing. They're fucking Jesus Christ, come again. But like, they don't walk on water just because they're nice to you.
Yeah.
That's bare minimum. Like, don't be taken in just because they treat you like you're a person, because you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to be like, however hard or difficult or challenging it may be for someone to like consume who you are, it was harder for you. Like it was hardest for you, and it's like, don't let anybody try and convince you that you're asking them to do something that's so hard that you didn't already have to do yourself. Like I said, like as a Black woman, like I don't have time to be waiting around for people to like get it. Like I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. And like, I would much rather, like, I think it's just important to just remind people, like, you don't, just because you're different or whatever, like, horrible word for that, but you don't deserve less than anybody else. You don't deserve different than anybody else. And I think it's important to always just like remember that, and don't let people like it's like dehumanizing almost. Like it's dehumanizing to like turn who you are into like a challenge, or like, I can't believe you're making me do this work. And it's like, I'm just asking you to like consume me fully here. Like, I'm just asking for you to like respect who I'm presenting to you, take that in and treat me well. Like it's, I don't know. I just want
I mean, it's not hard.
It's not
hard. It's just people choose not to. They choose to go the more difficult route and not see you for who you are.
Yeah.
And it's easier to be stuck in their way, and I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents on it.
Thank you.
I think that somewhere where we as queer people have been given like so the bare minimum and so not enough by people who owed us more is in our education around sex. And I'm wondering, in this group, like, what was your experience in learning about sex? Maybe like at first, and then was it different learning like what sex would be like for you? And what that whole journey was like. I know it's a very very heavy and also very, very intimate question. So, don't feel that you need to like divulge any details that are too intimate. Just whatever you feel comfortable sharing about like what it was like to learn about having sex in your body.
I feel like it was very interesting to like, because I had sex with men for the majority of my life. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, like penis and vagina, that's what it is. And it's like, this is what sex is. Sure, this feels like, I guess this is how it's supposed to feel. This is what it's supposed to make me feel. And like, obviously, when I was having sex with people that I was like more physically attracted to and the people that I loved, and like, especially like now my partner, there's the sex is not just like one thing. Like there's so much more to sex, and especially within like the queer community, because like if you can say like, oh, lesbian sex, and people immediately are like, oh, 2 vaginas. But it's like, if I'm having sex with a trans woman, like that's a different type of sex, that's going to be different. And like we as queer people, I feel like are more open to that. Straight people should be more open to it because their sex is going to be a lot fucking better. But it's like we as queer people are like more open to it, and we're more open to like different kinds of sex that bring us more joy, because we had to like understand our body. We had to sit there and be like, what feels good for my body? What do I love the most? What like intimacy do I need? And a lot of straight people don't really have to think about that. They don't really sit down and have that conversation with themselves. And that's like, sex is just, it's always changing. You got to just listen to your body. And I think like, I've learned a lot about myself from like having queer sex.
I think it's just important that like you're always learning about sex. I mean, specifically in my instance, like gay sex seemed like the scariest thing because I felt so far behind. The community is over sexualized in that matter. So coming in knowing not really much, you just think like this is a very sexual community that I'm entering, and I don't know anything. And that fear really paralyzed me sexually. Still does it, and I'm figuring it out. I've never had penetrative sex with a man, and I only share that information because someone watching could be in that situation. Like, oh, I don't know, like I've been queer all these years, like in college, and like don't like. And it's either like fear of not knowing what I'm doing, or fear of being fetishized, that I'm a virgin in that sense, because that is also another thing that I've really run into a lot. So then not being able to trust the community, and in my brain, I put it on the whole community. I was like, I can't trust this community with my body. So when will this ever happen? I don't know. And just like feeling this rush to be like, I need it to happen. And now I'm just like, I mean, like, it'll happen. I can figure out a way to be satisfied until then, So yeah, I just share that to let anyone know, like, don't feel like you need to rush. Don't be afraid. Explore in a safe manner, but don't be afraid and go at your own pace. Yeah.
I'm so glad you did share that, because it speaks to the fact that even within the queer community, there are so many expectations about what sex is, period. And then like what sex is supposed to look like, how you're supposed to do it, what position you are supposed to take based on who you are and how you look. So many expectations that get in the way of you having a fucking good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're doing all of this. Exactly.
Go ahead.
Like, no, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like, you're doing all of this self-work and this self-discovery because you want to feel good in your life. You want to feel affirmed. That should not stop when you are doing sex. Like, that should carry over into that. So it should really only be things that feel good to you. If it's new, like, set clear boundaries. I think it's really important during this to set boundaries and be kind of honest. Like, you don't just be honest about like how you're feeling, what feels good, what you do, what you don't do, what you don't want to do. Because I just think, like, for me, I just felt like I was like, it's a real waste for me to be having all of these, deciding to like dive into this part of myself that's always been there because I want to feel good, just to like go put myself in situations that are not going to feel good because I'm trying to prove something, or I'm trying to like forcing myself to have sex with women is not like, doesn't feel good. If I'm like sometimes you would go out and I'd be like, okay, like I'm liking girls tonight. Like that, like I want a girl today. Like, and it's like, and if I don't do it, then I'm a bad queer person and I keep dating these boys and I'm not doing it right. And like all of these things that you know aren't true and aren't real. And it's just about like, I don't know, just like feeling good. Like, in this relationship that I'm in with a man, I've never felt more affirmed in my queerness because this is someone who sees me all the way, knows everything there is to know about that because I felt comfortable sharing that with them, and like doesn't put me in positions where I feel uncomfortable or like make that to mean something that it's not. So I just think I can't emphasize enough the importance of like setting boundaries when you're like, especially like exploring new things sexually or like acting on like desires and urges that you've had and really are wanting to get into for the first time.
I was just going to say that when I was coming in as a first year at college, I kind of felt the pressure to be having a lot of sex just because the community, like that, where I went to school, that was like the community. Everybody slept with each other. All the queer people knew each other and they all had relationships with one another. And like, even my partner at the time dated my ex. Like it was just all very together and everybody was always having sex and all that. And I just thought that I was like, God, am I not having enough sex? Like, should I be having more sex? Should I be more comfortable in my body? Should I be like trying all these different things? And it took me a while to like, maybe honestly, till my last year of college where I was finally like, oh, okay, like this is for them, not for me. And I could have saved myself a lot of like uncomfortable situations if I had just, told myself what I was and wasn't comfortable with. Because some shit is just not for other people. Like, listen, some people are like furries, some people are not. And that is just the line you have to walk. Whatever line, like, to each their own. But you know what I mean? Like, you really have to find what is comfortable for yourself. And I know that's hard when there are so many people around you doing so many things. And, you spent your whole adolescence, being deprived of a lot of the things that we see on shit like Love, Simon, or whatever the fuck, one of those like white queer, like, or like, you know what I mean? Like they're holding hands in the high school hallway and shit. Like we didn't get to have that. So college is our time to kind of live out those experiences. But I feel like sometimes, at least for me, I got caught up in trying to catch up with all those experiences. And that's really not how you should be doing those things. You should be, nothing happens the way you want it to and at the time frames that you want it to. You just have to let it happen for yourself in a way that is comfortable and feels nice. And, there's a difference between like challenging yourself and then traumatizing yourself. You know?
Yes.
Laura, you kind of popped a question into my head that I kind of just want to ask the whole group on how you go about this, because I don't know really. Exploring something and realizing while you're exploring that it's not for you, but you're already in the situation. How do you go about that? You know,
you're with a partner and you're like in the middle of that exploration. It can feel so hard and awkward to talk honestly during sex. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. But I think that it's like honoring that, like, oh, you know what, this sex will be better for me and the partner that I'm with if I stop and I'm honest and I say, this isn't working for me. And maybe it also helps if you have a suggestion for a way that switch it to. Like, this isn't working.
I also say, like, just like, I feel like this is something that isn't like talked about enough for people during sex. Again, like, talking is a lot, but also like you can literally just say stop. Like,
please do.
You know what I mean? It could be like it can be stop, and then the person should stop. Like, and then that'll give you some time to like figure out language then, and then be like, can we try something else? Or that didn't feel nice. You know, I think inviting like just transparency during sex is such a radical idea, but like literally it's so freeing, because if you can just be like, oh wait, no, stop. The more you say stop, like the less like aggressive it will feel. You know, like I don't know. I feel like it's something that we should practice more as people, like normalizing talking during sex and normalizing like saying stop when something doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talking during sex is it's absolutely great. Like, I have never had sex where I don't make at least 10 jokes. Like, that is just like,
that's a move. That's a
sex
move.
is like boobs are crazy and dicks are weird and like buttholes are insane, you know, and pussies are what, you know, it's crazy. And like, you gotta be able to talk about it. And like, everybody's body is different. And like you can tell when somebody's uncomfortable with a part of their body, you know, you can tell. If you're consciously with that person, going to be intimate with that person, you can tell what part of their body they are not okay with, and just be there for them, you know? Say something about yourself, or like just start that communication before something happens that you're maybe uncomfortable with. And then it's going to be a lot easier because you already were doing that in the beginning. You know, it's not as weird as you're just like, if you weren't saying anything at all and then you were just like, I don't like this. This is, you know, it's just like, then you're uncomfortable with it. And it just kind of like, it holds it, when in reality, like if somebody's like, oh, I stopped, that doesn't feel good, then it's like, okay, well, does this feel good? Like, what would feel good? Like, what would you want to do? You know, like, it's just like simple combos that we have every day in our life, but then we forget to have them during sex, you know?
Yeah, I think
so true.
Like, I think it's important to say, like, you're gonna have to be talking. Especially like if you're doing sex that's not like penis and vagina sex, the only sex that they ever really show us, like growing up, or have the nerve to like teach you about in school or anything, like to get real information on. So you're gonna have to be talking. Odds are you are gonna have to talk through some things, especially if you're doing stuff for the first time. And like there's like logistics that have to be worked out, just because like you're really trying to do something that you may not have ever gotten real helpful information on, which is a shame. But yeah, don't be afraid of the talking. Don't be afraid to say no. Saying no, I don't like that, is an act of self-love. Not doing things you don't want is an act of self-love. And just like remember that you're doing this whole like self-discovery and like coming into your own because you want to have a better quality of life. Like, you want to feel better. And I like can't stress that enough. Like, don't do sex that you don't want to do. I don't know. Like, just really don't. That's just
so
the reason.
I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, you know, like things are swinging around. You're butt naked. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't have a conversation with another person who sees you butt ass naked, they are not the person that you need to be, you know, sharing your goodies with. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Also, like, because like I'm all for like if you don't like something and then you're just like, hey, I don't like this. Like, obviously, like, you can totally be like nice about it. You can be polite and then like have an alternative. If the other person like doesn't immediately stop, you no longer have to be nice about it.
Nope.
You can fully be like, no, we're done. No. The first time I ever bottomed, I straight up was like, hey, I don't think I like this. And the person I was doing it with I was like, yeah, but I like it. And I literally was like, okay, we're done. Nope. No, we're done. We're done. Please remove yourself from me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like, don't put politeness in front of your own personal like safety and comfort.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, if you got to be an asshole, be an asshole. Like, that's in the long run, it doesn't matter. Because if they didn't stop when you said stop, they're probably not a person you want to keep having sex with anyway. So it doesn't matter. Boom.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think it's also important to note that you don't have to have sex.
Yeah,
You totally don't have to.
True.
Could also be a part of your identity, right? Is like, and what is that even like in a place that like college is a place for learning, but also, there has this idea that it is a place for like doing sex and like doing a lot of it with maybe people you do know or don't know. That's what you see. But I think it's really important to note that like you don't have to have sex to prove anything. Like, if you're queer, like the sex that you have with women or men or anyone who doesn't fall into that binary, like, is not indicative of your like sexuality at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sex that you have with other people or the sex or sexual pleasure that you perform by yourself is for you, and you don't owe it to anyone to do something just to, like Camille said, prove your queerness or to do your queerness right or perform correctly.
Also, the porn you watch does not have to have anything to do with what you enjoy, like, at all. The majority of lesbians that I know watch gay men have sex. Why? I don't fucking know, but they do, and it's like, that's fine. Like, that's what it is. It's whatever. Like, it really doesn't matter. And like, you just like appreciate that you like that, but also like appreciate that like it might not be what you're like actually into in like the physical sense,
Yeah. Like, just because you like watching action movies with car chases and battle scenes does not mean I actually want to be in a car chase or a battle scene.
Never. Never.
That's a really, that's a very good point that I'm just now learning. Like, something can seem wonderful in theory and like really get you there in your mind.
That doesn't mean
then you try it and you're exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think that's important to say.
Translate to the physical.
Yeah, I think that's important to say, especially because like if you've been like closeted for most of your life, maybe a lot of the things that you are like your sexual activity is going on in your mind, and like that might make you think you enjoy things that maybe you don't, or like that you won't physically enjoy in real life. So just always go with what feels good. Always be checking in with what feels good for you.
You're not wrong for wanting to watch a certain type of porn and not wanting to do that in life. You're not wrong for, being a person who has sexual thoughts or, does or does not do sexual things yourself, but doesn't want to have sex and wants to, or, if you identify as asexual, that doesn't mean you're wrong or broken. It just means you are what you are.
You are. Yeah.
And that's for okay. I think that the way that I want to wrap this up is by just giving everyone a chance to just briefly mention like one thing you've had in your journey as a queer person that helped you or helps you survive. The question is kind of like, how did you make it out alive?
Yeah, from
far. What's one thing you have or had in your life that helped you make it this far? And
community is everything. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, community is everything, because if you are lucky to find if you are going out to college or whatever you're doing after high school, finding your community is so important. Finding people who share your culture and your identity and just things that you enjoy and who understand you, because for most of us, we don't get that from the get-go. We don't get that straight out of the womb. We don't get people who understand what we're going through. And to be able to find other people who understand the shit people that say to you on a day-to-day basis, like who can be there with you to make inside jokes and be like, "Ugh, straight people." Like you need that in your life in some way or some form.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that's what got me through a lot of the fuck shit that I went through. Yeah, community is everything.
I would say even more specific than community for me, it was nightlife. Like gay bars and clubs and like just like gay events and kickbacks, just like going out and being social with a lot of gay people at one time. Honestly, it's just like so. It's liberating to just share space with that many queer folks at one time. Mm-hmm. Like going out and being in queer spaces is so affirming for me. Just to like see what people are wearing, see how people, you know what I mean? Just like stay inspired and like be able to talk to somebody that like doesn't look like you, but maybe has one thing in common because they're also at like a gay bar, you know, or maybe they, I don't know. It's just something that happens for me. Like when you get your girls together and y'all get ready at home, y'all go out and then you get tacos at the end. Like there's something that is so affirming as a that I'm like, maybe I'm just really missing it right now being in quarantine. Like, that really got me out alive. Because it really did. There were so many nights where I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. I'm so sad, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Me and my girls are going out.
Yes.
So nothing else matters. I feel like that's what really got me through college, being able to like just put my hair up and go out with my folks.
That's real.
I think mine, real quick, is therapy. Like having therapy.
Oh my God.
That has kept me going. Like I've been like in and out of it since I was like in high school and in it now, and it's great and I love it.
110% mine is Joanna. She's literally been with me since day one. She's known me since straight up 7th grade. I love her so fucking much. And we literally have become queer together. And no matter how much of a dick I was as I was coming out, she was always on my side. So Joanna, 110%.
Amazing.
I love you so much.
I love you so much.
Also, I just want to say, it's really funny when you talk about coming out as queer, because I knew you were queer so much earlier than you did. It was so obvious. Every time you were like, I like men, I literally internally was like, okay.
It's you know, okay. It's what it is.
One of the things that's really gotten me through my transition a lot is the knowledge that like there's this idea that you have to be super good at whatever gender you transition to immediately. Like you have to immediately know how to do makeup, and you need to know what outfits go with what and how to fucking shave every inch of your body or not shave as you do. And like, it's just like the knowledge that like cis people have had so much more practice and education and time, and they have such a huge head start. And so like, if you're not good at performing whatever gender you identify as immediately, that's fine. Like, take your time, little baby bird, and no one gives a shit. Fucking watch a million makeup tutorials and fucking do whatever. Also, Melissa, who I love so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I feel like you just added that in, but it's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I have to echo what a lot of people have said already about like just community. I said it earlier, but like, I feel like I was subconsciously doing the work to like surround myself with people who, when I was ready to embrace myself, like would do nothing but cheer me on. Like I created a place that felt safe. I never put myself in like, I tried to just make myself as comfy as I could. I don't know. I took great care with myself and just was always reminding myself that like I deserve just as much as like everyone else. I deserve as much of the kind of life that I want as everyone else. So yeah, definitely just like community and just like loving on myself. I don't know, like just making it into something where I was like falling in love with myself. I always say it's like fun for me, like to be discovering all the time, like, oh, okay, I'm into that. That's great. That's great. So just kind of changing my mindset and making it seem exciting for myself. I don't know. Hope that helps.
Camille, I'm so glad you said that, because that touches on what I was just thinking of that whole time. It's like seeing my journey with myself as a positive thing, and not so much like I have to do all this work. I have to do so much work on myself to love myself. And just being like, no, it's a journey, and I'm just like on the train, and the train is going to a great place. So I'm excited for this ride. You know, I'm not someone who likes to be around a lot of people, more of a hermit, and being alone with myself, even though it's what I love, was like a scary thing for a while, because my mindset was not in line of what Camille was saying. Is that like it's falling in love with myself. It's an exciting thing, not a daunting journey of so much work and so much trauma. Like, yes, those things are there, but at the end of the day, it's good. And music, Peter Collins specifically. I'm just gonna plug him. I don't even know him, but Peter Collins, that album, it's the only album that's on Spotify, like saved my life, literally. And very often does. So music and art, obviously, is a huge part of it.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing. Like what Jordan was saying with the music and art, there is so much more queer music and literature and like media than there ever has been. And consume that, because it's good now too. it's like actually good. And you might really be able to, like, I know for folk, like for me, like seeing queer folks on TV, seeing things like that was always a comfort to me. So I can imagine how it will be now that it's being done well. So I can imagine how much more helpful it will be. So
Folks got budgets now.
budgets and queer people in the room. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for coming here today and having this conversation and talking about queer stuff. It's my favorite thing to talk about, and it brings me so much joy. This has brought me joy, and to have some queer joy right now, I think is so beautiful and necessary. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.